What's up, everyone? We're going to do one more tutorial on the Mesen emulator, and even though I've covered it quite a bit in some of my previous videos, I wanted to do at least one more tutorial because there's a really cool feature that can be used for any game, and it's replacing the graphics. In one of the previous videos, I went through the process to replace graphics for Metroid HD. This new process I'm going to follow is a little more generalized and can be used for any game. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I know there's a lot of talented artists out there that might not necessarily be programmers. And in order to do this, you actually don't need to be a programmer. So it's a really cool opportunity for some artists out there to make some upgraded graphics for really any game out there. In this case, we're going to do The Legend of Zelda, partly because it's popular, and also, as far as I know, no HD pack for it exists yet. And so to begin, first download and install the Mesen emulator. If you're not sure how to do that, I can provide a link in the description below of how to do that, and that's the process I use for Metroid HD, and it can be used for this as well. And once you have Mesen installed, you can get it up and running and start recording graphics and editing those, and that's what we're going to get into now. So we're going to start Mesen here. We're going to go to File, Open, and open any ROM you have that you want to edit. In this case, again, The Legend of Zelda. Okay. And we're just going to get it started to the point in the game where I have the sword. So I'm just going to grab that first, and you'll see why in a minute. Okay, go back down here. Okay, and I'm also going to mute the sound so you can hear me a little bit better. Okay, so the way that the pack works is that it starts, the emulator records graphics that are happening in real time. So from a big picture, what you have to do is really play through an entire game and try to make every sprite appear on the screen. And then the emulator will output those as PNG files, which you can edit, and the emulator will use those later, and that really comprises the full HD pack. In this case, we're just going to do a really small amount, and I'll show you how that works. First, you go to Tools and HD Pack Builder, and right here are all the options you have. There's not a ton, and really picking the best options comes down to a process of trial and error. I've done this once before for Zelda, so I know what seem to be the best settings, at least for editing the Link sprite, which is what we're going to do. I usually just leave this here for now. You can try different values if you're not happy with how things are showing. We're going to keep this checked. We're going to uncheck this and check this one here. Again, this is something that's trial and error. It'll likely be different as far as the best results depending on the game. So just try some different settings if what's coming out is a little bit confusing to you. And before I actually hit record, there's one additional thing I want to mention. It's the scale. And there's a whole lot of options. Mesen can output files as much as, pretty high, 10 times the resolution of an NES game. And honestly, I don't really recommend that because it starts to look a little weird because the movements are still going to be like an NES game. And personal taste, I tend to prefer the 1x or 2x options. That's when there's not, a huge disconnect between how many frames are in an animation for a sprite and what the resolution is. But again, that's something that comes down to personal taste. In this tutorial, we're going to try just a simple 2x for the resolution. So we're going to hit Start Recording. Okay, you can see it already recorded a couple things right here. Okay, and we're just going to move around a little bit. And use the sword a little bit as well. Okay, so we're going to stop recording. And I'm also going to mention that in general, what you can do is, well, in theory, you could record the whole game at once, but I don't really recommend that because what it outputs at, it almost kind of looks like a puzzle. And if you record too much at one time, it can start to be a little bit overwhelming. So I really just tend to recommend taking little bites, record a little bit, edit those, record a little bit more, and keep going through that process. And that helps it not to get too overwhelming. But again, that comes down to a matter of personal taste. But for now, I think that's good. We'll see how it shows up. to find out where those PNG files that it had just recorded a minute ago, you go to HD packs, and you find your game. In this case, it's Zelda. And these are all of the PNG files that were just recorded. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to edit these in Photoshop. So I'm going to right-click. This is the one that looks like it has all the link sprites. So that's the one we're going to edit. I'm going to right-click, open with Photoshop. And again, if you want a free option, you can try something called GIMP. But again, we're going to use Photoshop. Okay. And to look a little bit closer, what you can do is just hit Control+ on your keyboard, and you can get a little bit closer look at what you're dealing with. Now, there's a few different ways you can edit the sprites. You can start, using the pencil tool from scratch. You could, take other work from prior entries in the series, like Link to the Past, and try to scale those and adjust them as needed. And it really just comes down to whatever you're most comfortable with and what you think will generate the best results. In this case, we're going to try looking at some sprites that were already generated online. I'm just going to go to Chrome here, and I'm just going to look for link sprites. I did this once before, and let's see if I can find the ones I found earlier. And it went down. Okay, actually, these didn't look too bad. I think I'm going to try putting those in the game. Again, you can try any other ones, but I'm kind of partial to these here, and so we're going to try this. Save as on the desktop. Okay, and another thing I should mention, if you go through this process that I'm going to show you here and take sprites from the internet, I would recommend first trying to contact the creators to see if they're okay with it. And if you can't do that, at the very least, credit them for their work. But it's kind of a jerky move if you rip some stuff from the internet, then claim it as your own. So as a disclaimer, I did not create these sprites. They're from this website here, CVRPG. And I guess I'll have a little plug for them as a thank you for, me using their work for this tutorial. So I'm going to go find the image I just downloaded. In this case, I just put it on my desktop here. I'm going to right-click, open with. Let's see here. Well, I can just drag it into Photoshop here. Okay, it looks like it's not the right format. Let's see if I can save it as... Yeah, we're going to try into downloads this time. Let's see if that worked a little bit better. Okay, that's better. Okay, so we're just going to try changing one of these sprites, and when you open up multiple files like I just did, they appear as different tabs on top here. And one other thing I'll mention about Photoshop, and I mentioned it in one of my previous videos, is that it operates in layers, which you can see here. And they're kind of like pieces of paper placed on top of one another. So we're just going to trim what we want here and then place that on the other file we want to edit. So to do that, we want to make sure we're in the right layer. And also, before I proceed, you'll notice it says index here. I won't go into a ton of detail of what that means, but it's a good way to save file size, but for our purposes, we want to change the mode to give us a little bit more freedom with what we want to do. So in order to change the mode, you go to Image, Mode. We're going to change it to RGB color. Okay, and just take my word on that one. It'll make things a little bit easier for you. So we're going to want to take a closer look at what we've got here. So we're going to hit Control and plus on our keyboard. We're going to hit the space bar until this hand shows up. We're going to hold it down, left click, and drag to move closer. And I think I'm just going to use this here to replace a couple of these sprites. So to select what I want, we're going to hit this marquee tool here, this rectangular marquee tool. Make sure that's highlighted. We're going to left click, drag, and release here. And then we're going to hit this crop button. And then double click on the inside. So that really just centers in on what we want, and we're going to move that over to this other layer here. To do that, what you do is highlight this layer here, right click and say duplicate. And we're going to put it on this 03 file up here. Hit OK. And okay, so that's what it looks like. And you'll notice right away, so again, Control plus, spacebar and move. You'll notice right away that it looks like it's too big. And so what we're going to have to do is try to resize it. Now, careful when you're resizing, things can get kind of distorted. So depending on how you resize it, you might have to do some cleanup later. So in this case, we're going to see how it turns out when we resize it and see if any cleanup's needed. But there's a few things we're not going to need for this portion of the tutorial. I'm going to try to get rid of the sword here. So to do that, you can use this eraser tool. We're going to click on that. We're going to make sure it's on mode pencil to make sure we have some crisp edges. And if it's not the right size, you can use this down arrow here to change the size of what we want. In this case, I'm actually pretty happy with the size, so we're gonna leave it. And so again, make sure you're highlighting the right layer. I'm going to actually rename this link, so I keep track of this, and I'm going to call this original. Okay, so make sure you're highlighting, left click on link, and we're just going to get rid of that sword there because we don't need it. Okay, and then so we left click on this marquee tool, left click, drag, and then you can right click on that and hit something called free transform. This is the option that's going to allow us to scale it to whatever size we need. Okay, and before I actually move anything, I want to make sure that this interpolation is on nearest neighbor. Sometimes it defaults to something else like bilinear or bicubic, and in some cases that's fine, but for these purposes we want nearest neighbor because it gives us the sharpest edges, and for pixel art that's really what we want. So then what you do is you hold down the shift key to resize and hit left click on this arrow and you can move it. And the reason you're holding down the shift key is to keep the ratios the same. And you do that until it's about the right size. Okay, I actually think that looks about right. Okay. So to finalize everything, you can just hit the enter key on your keyboard and that should finalize everything. Now we're going to hit Control plus, spacebar to move up. Okay, and that looks like it's actually probably going to work pretty well. And I'm actually going to move the shield out of the way. So you can do that a couple of different ways. I'm actually going to move the shield to a new layer so we can work on those independent of one another. So to do that, you just highlight just the shield. And to do that, I'm going to use this lasso tool. And I'm going to left click and drag until it's all circled around there. And then I'm going to right click. I'm going to say layer via cut this time. I did copy before. And you'll notice now I have 3 layers. This top one is now the shield, so I'm going to call this shield. Okay. So to move that out of the way, we're just going to use this move tool up here. Left click. And we're going to move the shield down there. So now we're going to move Link back into above where the sprite needs to be. So again, highlight the Link's layer and use the move tool to just move Link up. Now make sure Link is centered. It looks about right. Now you'll notice one difference between these two things is the Link that we're using doesn't appear to be walking like the Link in the original file is. And so we're just going to edit some things to make it more look like Link is walking. So again, we're going to move up just a little bit. Okay, space bar to move it. Move it maybe just down a little bit. Okay. So to actually get a better look of what's behind it, you can select this little eyeball here. It says indicates layer visibility. If you click on that, it'll disappear, but don't worry, the sprite is still there. You just can't see it. So if I click on that again, it will reappear. So I just want to get a better look here, and it looks like Link is walking, as I mentioned. His arm is kind of out here and behind him over here, and these feet are doing some walking stuff here. So we're just going to basically try to replicate that. And there's, again, a few different ways you can do that. For this, I'm going to try just moving some things around. So to do that, we're going to go to this marquee, the rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to highlight the boot here. And we're going to right click and say free transform again. And this time, instead of grabbing on the corner here, we're just going to grab on the very bottom and move it down 1 pixel. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for the other foot. Right click, free transform, we're going to move that up. Okay? To try to make it look like Link is walking. Now for the hand, I'm going to get rid of this back so we don't see it. For the hand, we're going to make it look like this one's a little bit behind Link. So we're going to highlight that. Free transform. We're going to move it in just a little bit here, and maybe just a little bit up. Maybe up one more. Okay. And for this one, I think I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to use this pencil tool. And if you hold down, you have a few different options here. We've got the brush tool, the pencil tool. We're going to use the pencil tool because that gets the sharpest edges. So again, for pixel art, that's what we want. And we're going to make sure it has a diameter of 1 pixel. And for this, I'm going to get in real close. I'm going to hit Control+. And to take some colors and move them, what you can do is hit the Alt button on your keyboard, and you'll see this eyedropper. And if you left click, you can take the color from an area. We're going to take it from right there, left click. And then if you let go, and then left click here, that color will appear there. So I'm going to do that a few times. And again, this is just kind of like an art form here. You just do it until it looks right. Okay. Alright, that might be okay. We're going to zoom out, hitting Control and minus on the keyboard. And if you'll notice, there's actually some sprites here. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to edit those to make the walking animation look correct. So to do that, what you can do is just duplicate what you have up here over to, you duplicate what you have here and you move it to here. So to do that, you make sure you're on the correct layer, use the marquee tool, select Link, and a little shortcut, if you hit Control and Alt, and then you left click and move, you really just duplicate that exactly. So we're going to move Link to right in the middle here. Yeah, it looks about right. And we're going to have to take Link's other half. We're just going to highlight that half there. Move. And we're still on the Link layer, so that's correct. We're going to right click. We're going to say free transform. And then we're going to say right click, flip horizontal. And then you move it into the correct spot. And hit enter. Okay, so that looks about right. The next thing we have to do is make sure the shield is in the correct locations. So make sure we're on the shield layer here. The move arrow. And then you left click and just move the shield to where it needs to be. I think it looks about right for it to be there. So again, what you can do as a shortcut is hit Control and Alt and then drag. And that just drags the shield. So I think we should be in pretty good shape. We just need to get rid of the old sprites behind everything. So to do that, just move to the original layer here. Use the marquee tool. Select the area you want. And all you have to do is hit the delete button on your keyboard. Okay, I'm going to hit spacebar to move it. And I'm going to get rid of this one here too. Delete. Control minus. Okay, I think that's looking good. We're going to see how that works. So if you hit File and then Save As, make sure you save it as a PNG file. Hit Save. And then we say OK to replacing what's in there. So let's look to see how it turned out. To see how it turned out, you have to close out Mesen and restart it. So we're going to do that. Now keep in mind, I only replaced the sprites for one area, so it's going to look a little weird when I move around, but that's expected. So we're going to start it. Options, video size, we're going to go to 4x. Okay. There we go. Okay. Alright, that doesn't look too bad. And so basically for all the different sprites, you just repeat that process. And rather than just taking the time during the video to do that, I'm just going to use a little shortcut and use some prepared sprites that I've already done, and just to show you how it looks if you spend a little bit more time to do that. Okay. Okay. And I'm just going to put that, so this is a file I prepared previously, and I'm just going to right click on the layer here and duplicate it to what I was just working on. Again, you won't have this because I prepared this beforehand just kind of as a shortcut. And so I'm just going to remove everything and hit File, Save, and just see how it looks. Okay, again, start Mesen. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so that's the process to actually replace the sprites for a game, and you would just repeat that process for all of the sprites that you have. At this point, I'm just going to stop because my intent was just to show the basics. And you can do some more advanced things in Photoshop. And to learn Photoshop, you know, there's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. So I'll let you check those out if you're not familiar with the program. Same with GIMP. But again, there's some really cool results that can be done, and I think there's a lot of unrealized potential for the Mesen emulator. There's some cool HD packs for Metroid and Castlevania, but I feel like, you know, if some people spread the word about just how this process works and how to replace some of these graphics, I think, you know, in time it's possible we could see some really cool stuff. But for now, I'll say, you know, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, you found it useful, and for now I'll say see ya. Okay, bye.